Good morning. I'm now with Rony Jang, President Director of Eisler and Pacific Investment. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.
So I have questions.
Sure.
How did you first get interested in architecture design?
It was started when I was in 9 or 10 years old. I went to Singapore Changi Airport, and I was amazed by this huge piece of glass while in the waiting room area waiting for the plane to board. And at that time I was motivated I want to create an iconic building. Yeah, so I went a lot to Singapore when I was little, and I also went to China and a lot of other places in Europe and also America. And I was always amazed. Every time I go inside a city or inside a country, I feel like architecture, a building is like the face of the country. It represents the country identity. So I want to be able to be part of it, to be part of the person who can bring the identity of a country. In this situation, I represent Indonesia. I want to bring more identity through the building that I designed in Indonesia. So that's how it started.
How old were you at that time?
Still just 9 to 10 years old. So still very young, and then I was inspired by all these magnificent buildings.
So where did you study architecture?
Basically, I study in Petra Christian University back in Surabaya, and then I continued go to China, in particular city which is Wuhan, and we during that time after I finished graduations, and then I start my first practice with all my friends in China.
But why in China?
During that time, China was experiencing a double-digit economic growth. So the only country in the world to experience a double-digit economic growth was in China, and we were able to have a chance to be part of those growth. Which means during that economic growth, all the economic sector, property, and then the constructions are growing very fast. Wuhan was a particularly interesting city because it was like a convergence point between the north and the south, east and west. That time they were building a high-speed train connecting from Beijing to Guangzhou, and everywhere all it stops in Wuhan, so it becomes like a transit city. It suddenly transformed the city into a third-tier city, now becoming one of the most successful city in the world. Yeah, so when I first got there, I was amazed by all this architecture, construction company, investment company who all come to that city and want to invest and make the city grows. In just within 5 to 6 years, the city becomes metropolitan, a new metropolitan.
Who are your role models?
My role model was the late architect Zaha Hadid. She was a woman, and I believe she was born in Iraq, and then she was raised and studied architecture in London. She has all those advantages to become a famous architect. She has all those disadvantages. Sorry, she has all those disadvantages, but she managed to get through it, and she proves to everyone else that architecture is not just about fame. Architecture is about how do you create a value into your planning. So she was doing something very controversial about her design. It's like she transformed, she redefined the concept of wall. She redefines the concept of wall. She is brave enough to stand and tell everybody that this is the way you should do it. So in other words, architecture is not just about designing building. We basically want to transform something into something that can make a greater effect to everybody in the world. So that's what Zaha did, and then that's what we basically do as well. So we not just designing building, we put value in the building. We transform the lifestyle of the person inside the building. Maybe at the first, people in a normal apartment, maybe people just stay at their units and they never meet any friends. In our apartment design, we put community areas in the intermediate level so that people can interact and then they can communicate. So this brings a healthier lifestyle, more community lifestyle to the person who lives inside our design. So that's where my architecture philosophy starts from.
So when did you establish Eisler?
I first established back in 2010, just when I finished graduations. At that time, it was called GRY Studios under my name. But then back in 2017, we changed the name into Aisler. Because we are experiencing growth in our company. At first, it was just a small studio, but then it transformed into quite a big corporate. Right?
What does it mean?
It's a very unique question because a lot of people keep asking. Aisler actually it's an anagram of the word easel. EASLE. It's an anagram of the word easel. Easel means like a supporting platform for artworks. And then I put R at the end to indicate there are person behind it. So that's where the name comes from. It's a philosophy where Aisler is like a platform of problem solutions to this piece of artwork. In this case, is either a land, an asset, or building, whatever it is that we can support. So that's where the name comes from.
Are you the only owner, or do you have partners?
I have partners, which is my own dad. He is also my inspirational person. He keeps motivating me whether I make mistake, and then he keeps also give me ideas of what should be done to transform this country into a better world, basically.
How many employees do you have now?
We have total about 30 employees stay at the office, and then 10 to 15 person who stays on the project side. I normally call my staff a team. I never call my staff a staff. I call it a team because I believe that my team is an asset of my company. Because architecture is all architecture, and our services is all about teamwork. So all this team is my asset to create a better service to our client. So that's what I call my team. Yeah, total 30 and then 10 to 15 on the project side.
So what is your annual revenue?
Right now we are experiencing a double margin growth and also a double revenue in the recent years. Currently our annual revenue is about 10 to 12 billion. And then we already booked total sales or total project for about 120 billion in total for the next 3 to 4 years. So what we want to point out is that architecture is the only type of business in this world who can have a margin up to 50% with a very, very big revenue growth, and we would like basically all the investor and the investment people knows that not just manufacturing company who can strive in this world, but also the service-based company. That is also in line with our President Jokowi is now doing, is that he wants to increase the human capital. He wants to put underline on the human capital that now on this new era, the 5 years of his new era is going to be all about human capital, and we are one of his dream that actually comes true.
So what is your design philosophy, and then what makes Aisler unique?
Yeah, my design philosophy is something different. Yeah. Maybe the other architect will think a good design is a pretty building, is a aesthetic buildings. What we do is that we are designing for human. We are more into the emotional approach. What is the end user for every property project is always human. So we design how to make the human can get a better life, a better living, a better lifestyle. How do we transform an office into what we call a dynamic office? How do we transform a hotel into now a business hotel, or maybe a student-friendly hotel? So there are a lot of things that is just more than the aesthetic of the building. It's about the core function of the building, which is as a space that contains all the people who are using it. So our philosophy is to design to fit the people inside it. That's our philosophy. What is unique about Aisler? We are the unique part is that we are like a one-stop shopping for properties. So because we have all ranges of services starting from architecture, structural consultant, QS, M&E, project management, business development, people basically can come to us with a piece of paper that shows this is my land, can you do something about it? We will guide through from the beginning, design, we will monitor the construction, we will take care of the contractors, and then until it's handed over to the customers. So it's
also the interior design,
everything inside, landscape, everything inside property. We bring value to the property. Maybe the land is worth $1 million. We will transfer into $1 trillion. So that's what we do. We are adding value with end-to-end service to our customers.
So Esler has just won a project to redesign all train and bus terminals in Indonesia. So how did you manage to win such a project?
Yeah, we start from scratch basically. All of our design that you see on the magazine, it all starts from a stroke of a hand. It starts from pencil. So we work out what is the core fundamental things that needs to be done. So what is the problem? Remember that architecture is actually a problem solution. So we go to the site and we meet all the people there. We meet all the PKL, the person who is on the street, and then we ask them, what is the problem in this terminal? And they keep telling us about the security, bad service, and the bus is not on time. A lot of bus is actually stay on the terminals, and actually it's not allowed for the bus to stay there. And then it makes the environment dirty and such. People not convenient because the terminal looks outdated. It's not cool enough for the young generation to go to the terminal. I believe if your friend asks you to let's hang out in the terminal, you will say no. So this is why first what we present to the government is that let's change the name. Don't do terminal. We name it a city hub.
City hub. That's a very trendy name.
It's a very trendy name. I mean, if you look at this demographic of the current Indonesian, mostly is a millennial generation is now coming up with the new startup and such. So our concept is to bring those people in who can also bring the trend into our terminal. It's basically, in a nutshell, we say we make the terminal cool. So that's how we got into the project. In details later, in terms of technical, we solve a lot of things. We also make the terminals children friendly. Most of the people forget about these children, women, elderly people, disabled person. They are having difficulties to navigate through the city. We make the terminal as a benchmark about how planning should be done. And we also transform the terminal into an integrated mixed use. There are apartments, hotel component, office inside the terminal. What better place can you own an office rather than the convergence points of all the transportation in Indonesia? This terminal, what we designed, is called the Terminal A, which is connecting all the province. This terminal connects the bus from the outside the island and such. So this is like a convergence point between all these transportation hubs, which is a good place for what we call a TOD, transit-oriented developments. This is where we also put the mixed-use and integrated buildings inside the terminals. And the integration of we tell the government that it's not just about all the funding should be from the government. You need to also couple up with the private sectors, which is what the Jokowi is doing right now. And you can also mix the funding up with the foreign funding as well. So this creates like consortiums on how to successfully rejuvenate the terminals.
So how did you manage to win such an award?
Yeah, we are basically go through tenders. We convince the government that this is what should be done. All of our other competitors, they are doing what we call building beauty. So they are trying to, like when you dress up a man or dress up a woman, they are more focused on the makeup. I'm more focused on the heart inside.
That's good.
So that's how we managed to get the project.